Hello and welcome to the Frequency Shift podcast. My name is Aaron Baldock from Greer and Aaron Vibrational Coaching. And today on the podcast, we have a really special guest, Illumina Christos. She is a spiritual teacher and mentor, and she does a lot of amazing work in the world. Today, we talk about expanding our consciousness, what that really means, remembering who we are, living from the heart, the principles of Tantra, and the 7 initiations of divine union, which is Illumina's specialty. I really hope you enjoy today's episode, and we wish you all the best.
It's good to see you.
Yes, you too. All right, thanks everyone for logging on, and welcome to the Frequency Shift podcast. My name is Aaron Baldock, and today we have Illumina Christos with us. Thank you, Illumina.
Pleasure.
So I really wanted to get you on just because of your depth of embodying of what it really is that we're evolving into, and I really felt called to get your perspective on so much. And looking through your bio, what you're doing with the Sirius Library and the Divine University, it's simply inspiring to see the body of work that's being produced there, and where you guys are heading. So I thought that might be a great place to start, just with what you guys are up to there, and we could go from there.
Okay. The Sirius Library is a group mission, if you like. We all are working with the family of light, let's say. That is a power that has supported me and every other mentor on the Sirius Library website to really come more deeply into our embodiment on the earth. I don't want this to sound too cosmic, because the truth is that embodiment is really, of presence, is really up to every individual to choose to access the power of the heart. Which is, as you would know, the most powerful technology that we can possibly access. And because we haven't been trained to do that from birth, and there is little or nothing within the DNA and the genetic encodement in a human being that remembers that this is our true nature, and that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. And the more of us that are awakened or reawakened to that will begin to move along their path of their own volition by nature of their very soul, because that is the soul's drive, and the soul knows that it is a spiritual entity, if you like.
Yeah.
So the mission, the group mission that is connected to the Sirius Library, is basically to open as many souls on the earth, as many human beings, to remembering their true nature as a spiritual being, and to reconnect them with their power to remember that they have this inside of them to access and to use, to evolve their consciousness, and to raise them up, to lift them out of the frequency and resonance of suffering, to put it simply, of any kind.
I guess I was going to ask, like, why would be coming back into the heart and living from this space, why would that be important? And you nailed it right there. It's to release that suffering. And I wanted to ask you, like, what does it, because we hear like expand your awareness, evolving in consciousness, what does that really mean for an individual?
Well, firstly, it's like waking up from a dream. a dream that holds a being in the perception that they are much less than what they truly are. It's like an overlaid story that holds human beings out of remembering their true nature. It creates us to believe that we are the suffering, we are these challenging relationships, we are in pain, and we do have something imposed upon us from the outer reality that may look like a relationship, that may look like systemic control or unruly governments, an outer reality that does not have our back and that does not embody kindness towards our human nature. And in truth, we are kindness. That is truly who we are. But if we forget that, and when we forget that, it can take us on a whole other path. It's like a weaving through the denser dimensions of separation. And by separation, of course, I mean separation from our true source, separation from the love we know we are, separation from the goodness that is in every heart and soul. And that is the illusion. And that is why awakening is necessary. It is why looking into the eyes of another and seeing the spiritual origin in their mirror, or in the mirror they are reflecting to us, and remembering that, wow, there is something else, there is some light, there is something beautiful beyond our perception of challenge and difficulty and all that appears to be wrong in this reality.
Yeah, and a theme you've been saying is remembering. And why is it that we forget?
Well, I believe that the forgetting has been happening for thousands of years, which perhaps began in Atlantis and really was solidified or fortified in ancient Egyptian times. And the DNA, let's say, I'm not an expert on this, so I don't want to go into that too deeply. There are many things that I've explored and learned to explain the human condition as it is today. And I do not want to sound like we have been victims of anything. In some way, we have all played a hand in getting us to where we are right now. So what is more important is to lift out of all of the dimensions of the energy body. That includes the physical, etheric, emotional, mental, the genetics, the soul, and the spiritual bodies, particularly the 7 lower bodies of, this patterning. And initially we know that others hold a key for us, and we are guided to them to help unlock. And usually there is an event in one's life that, unless we're sort of born to question, and then often there will be an event in one's life that actually, presses us so hard and connects us with a massive inquiry into what is true. And many of us have had an awakening experience at some time in our life, and if we haven't, we will. And it asks us to question the illusion. And in my case, it was the illusion of relationship and romantic love that I began to question. And that was momentous because it opened up a can of worms, if you like, or a universe of beautiful, an incredible treasure chest of ribbons that had, an immense amount of information, and, there was like an unpacking that began to happen, and an inquiry that never stopped until a certain point, and it still hasn't stopped, but it changed. And I would say, if you would like me to go on, because this is leading into something that that I call the 7 initiations of divine union.
Yes. Yep.
Because my path has been a tantric path, and there are many descriptions of tantra in our contemporary world. But I would say that this is true tantra in terms of addressing the masculine and feminine spirit within ourselves, the evolution and the alchemy of the creation of divine union between our own masculine and feminine spirit, which can only be achieved by a devotion to truly knowing our essence, to accessing the power of our essence, to recognizing that we are all one. We are one with nature, and we are one with one another, that we are energetic, physicalized apparitions of the human form. So even though we see these hands as physical, they are energetic, and it is a physical density, for want of a better description, of what this manifestation as a woman you see before you. And this physical world is an energetic world. So in that energetic sense, we are all connected. It's just that with these physical eyes, we do not perceive that. We look at ourselves and see ourselves as present in this reality. So when we reconnect with the truth of that, we understand that any action that we take is a action for or against ourselves. Meaning that whatever energy we put out, if it is a loving energy, if it is a loving thought or action, then it is sending this love into the field of oneness and creating benevolence in our energetic reality. If we choose to, or unconsciously, send out negativity in the form of judgment towards another, or an entity, or an institution, or whatever it may be that we justify our judgments and projections of judgments about, then we are locking ourselves into an energetic resonance that will not serve us. If we made it all about us, which initially when I started on this path, I did, because I wanted the divine union with a male counterpart, and that I believed would be the ultimate reward of giving myself to the path of returning to source through the journey of intimate relationship. So it was, in a sense, my personality and ego had a little investment, which was fine. It really didn't matter, because it led me into a deeper place of truth and recognizing that my safe place And my expanded place, my most loving place, and my most empowered place is when I am sitting in my core and living from the heart of my presence. And from there, relationships can occur. When I am in my divine union, then I manifest divine union in my outer reality with my children, with their fathers, with my friends. And when this is not occurring, I bring it back to me. And at this point, I just sit in the knowing that I can choose to drop into a story of, distorted truth or sadness or feelings of rejection, and hold myself in this lower frequency band, and therefore not live or create life from this higher place. Now, from there, I will say there is something that many of us are aware of, known as spiritual bypassing. This is something that has not been a path for me, because the tendency for my nature has to be to dive very deeply into the consciousness that is manifesting in my reality as my mirror. And that has been of insurmountable value, because I'll say that having given myself to the path of intimate relationship, exploring intimacy and sexuality, the human attachment and obsession with intimacy and sexuality, exploring the spirit of my feminine and masculine very deeply and with no holds barred, just as from an objective perspective. For what I found was all connected to the collective consciousness of humanity. That it wasn't personal to me, but I manifested it as something that one could say was personal to the self. But I approached it in an impersonal way, as an experiment. And I would suggest we all do this, because we are all connected to the grid of collective consciousness. So to meet that very, very deeply and master it and bring the masculine and feminine spirit in, and this may sound a little complex because, I'd say the majority of the audience may not have had the training to do such a thing. But it is the dedication that continues to open and to meet our feeling nature, which I call the feminine nature, and the doing nature, which I will call the masculine, the activating, the light nature. And by doing this and meeting them deeply and bringing both into the heart, into the temple of the heart, will create an alchemy inside of our energetic system, inside of our core. So not only in the heart as a crucible, but in the other chakras as well. And there is something I'd love to share about sexuality, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
As we're in the flow of this conversation that's coming from my presence. Is that for the first several years of my training and journey in self-mastery, there was something that I was avoiding. And that was a deep fear of abandonment that was connected to sexuality. And a sense of fear and resentment, deep resentment towards men. There was a pattern, a programming that held judgment towards the masculine, and the masculine sexual attitudes. Now, what I will say now to disarm it all was that I found those within myself and within my own energy body. And through a very big journey, though, we do project our desire upon the opposite sex or gender or whoever we may be attracted to, due to wanting to get back to the Creator, due to the need for divine union and the yearning to return to our source. And that is the journey through the 7 initiations of divine union. Because we are seeking to return to our Creator in our knowing, in our heart, in our mind. We are looking for that peace. We are looking for that ecstasy. And all we have known to do through our programming is to project it onto a love and to eventually give ourselves to that in the hopes that it will take us there. And some relationships can do that. Sometimes there are contracts we may have with several souls over the timeline that will give us the opportunity to reclaim a certain part of ourselves that maybe no other soul could do at that time, that we maybe did not have contract with anyone else to do that, but this one, because they carry a certain resonance, and they will give us back, if we embrace it, a part of ourselves that no one else could in that time, or that our previous partner could not have created us to need to meet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Yeah, I can reflect on certain people I've met in my journey, that their resonance brought out an aspect of me that I was denying or just hadn't even tapped into.
Yes. So through that meeting and those meetings and that desire to just stay in the heart and the upper chakras, something like the saints who chose celibacy and just full devotion to the Lord, and that was it for them, without really meeting the human urges and desires, which is quite strong in the spiritual communities, because it is a blanket programming to continue to seek or to deny through sexuality and sexual union. So that really is needed in order to ground a presence into all of the cells of the physical body, to bring the sexual distorted energies, let's say, into the crucible of the heart, and to open up and bring the light and love and the power fully into all of the lower chakras as well. And that is quite a journey, but it really needs to be met and taken if we are sincere about our intention to really bring our presence fully into the body and to be able to experience the true bliss and ecstasy of our nature. When we do this, it unlocks everything, and we can have that experience with or without a partner. So then we will have entered into we've opened the door and entered the possibility of true communion without having attachment or need to another, to feel at peace, and to be able to live our lives in a fulfilled way, whether we are single or whether we are in partnership. It becomes irrelevant in truth. So for many years, I was projecting onto masculine for partnership, for that meeting, for those needs to be met, for this yearning to share my path and my life with a significant other.
Me too.
Yeah.
Except the
It's a
opposite.
very natural, it's a natural thing, you know. We need to go through that. We need to meet it. We need to completely embrace it because it's absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Really. To meet that and be true to that, which is so beautiful. And teaching and with a partner is often, you know, when you're on a path like you are, is, you know, it's like the ultimate. It's like, wow, you know, we're able to do this. We're able to grow together and rise above these issues, which undoubtedly do arise. That is the gift of relationship. So it's embrace every moment of it as you are and as you do.
Yeah. Certainly. Yeah. Well, there was so many points I wanted to elaborate on there. Yeah, and I certainly resonate with the idea that we project what that yearning, that desire onto something external. I was single for 8 years, and I was traveling the globe, traveling Australia, and in all that time, like whenever I'd go to bed, there still felt like there was something missing. And I went to a teacher once, and she said, "What you're really yearning for is your connection to Source." And I remember when she said that, it didn't satisfy me. I was like, I don't know, but the more I came into my own presence, my own being, and cultivated that love within, then yeah, it turned up, and now I am in a divine union relationship, and it is everything I wanted and more. And yeah, it hasn't been how I projected it, how I'd imagined it, but it is how has felt how I always would imagine it would feel. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I see the polarity, the masculine, feminine energies. Is it true that the universe being electromagnetic energy, the electric being the masculine, the magnetic being the feminine, coming together? How do we know, or how can we identify? How can we work to bring those energies in balance within us first? Is that what the 7 pillars of initiation are? Is that journey of coming to balance within us first?
Only in your attitude and your invitation to bring these into balance. But whatever is occurring in one's life right now, right in the moment, is exactly the doorway to this balance occurring as it's a process of growing. And really, the first thing that we embark upon, the most important thing, is to meet our own feeling nature for both men and women, because it is the receptivity that we need to open to and develop through the meeting of our feeling nature, a feminine nature. That is not to say that the masculine isn't feeling. This is focusing fully on our, let's call them lower emotions. They're in a frequency band that keeps us disempowered.
Mm.
So we really want that power back. We must empower our feminine. In order to do that, we must be willing to recognize that we are heart-based beings, that the center of soul energy is in our heart. If we want to expand that power, we can think of the massive heart of the earth, the spirit of the earth, to give us more power in the moment, to actually sit with our sadness, sit with our rejection, sit with perhaps experience of abuse, what we have attracted in our life up until now, what has happened to us, what family situations we were born into, how much love was experienced or the lack of it in our upbringing, what our relationships were like or are like with our siblings. These are the primary relationships in a lifetime which will influence what we attract in our adult life. So it is vital to meet the lower emotions. That is not to judge them in any way, to never reject any part of ourselves. Now, we need to open our energy field, our heart, and if it helps to be in nature to do that, or at least call upon the spirit of the Mother Earth to do that, to expand our heart, we go within, close our eyes, as though we are the only ones that exist, us and the source, and there is no one outside of us. So we go into that place. We invite the part of us that may feel down, that may feel sad, rejected, that may feel disconnected and distance themselves, that part of our feminine nature that just feels like a loner, for instance, that wants to turn away from the masculine when there are challenges there and just be quiet and feel separate. So we call that part of us in, because that may be a strong part that just goes into separation and wonders what it can do when a strong masculine presence, let's say, comes into their field and becomes demanding and wants more than that feminine part is willing to give. That the feminine part feels is unjust and really needs to decide for herself what is her truth. So this is an example. So we have her and we bring her in, we invite her in, and we just feel into what her beliefs are. And it may be, well, the masculine is demanding, the masculine is dominant, he would be saying. And she doesn't feel safe with that kind of energy. And therefore, she must break away. So what we would ask then is that you invite her into your heart, into the crucible of your source. And you let her know that you will always be there for her. And you radiate the most compassion you can muster into her heart so that she remembers that's where she came from. That's her home. And that is where she is returning. And you issue that invitation for her to return. And you offer up from this place to spirit the parts of her that believe in separation from the masculine, that believe that the masculine is dominant. We ask her, is she willing to release this now so that she can be freed from the manifestation of this dynamic in her world, in her life. And as she is in the process of forgiving this and coming into source again, we look at the masculine part of the spirit, the mirror, and we look at him this dominant one. And he is very ambitious, this one in our example. And he wants more of the feminine. He's demanding to be met. He has a mission to carry out. He has things to conquer. Cannot afford to go into the feminine. He's demanding. He believes that she's not meeting him in that place. And in which case, you do exactly the same with him. You invite him into the heart. You radiate your heart of compassion towards him. You look at his beliefs. You acknowledge them. You acknowledge his ambition. You acknowledge the fact that he thinks there's not enough time to be in this feeling mode. You acknowledge that he believes he needs to block his feminine from feeling because it may impede his true path. This is an illusion, you say. And to let that part of us lead us, give our power to it, to that part only, and lead us on a particular journey, again, is a false truth. So we invite him in and we let him know that is a false truth and that he needs the feminine. He truly needs her to do his mission because he will not be able to truthfully and fully embody his presence if he does not come into and work with, in union with your feminine and your soul. I call these aspects of our consciousness or parts of our spirit that are not in the enlightened state. We have many parts of our spirit that are enlightened, and that is the power we are also calling on and using to help have these other parts remember, to bring them all together, to envelop them and encompass them and bring them back into the heart of Source. And there are many, many, many parts of our spirit or aspects of our consciousness that will want to be brought in, that will gradually reveal themselves to us on a day-to-day basis. And this is the journey of balancing the masculine and feminine, bringing them into and alchemizing. Can you see how the alchemy can occur in that way?
Oh, yeah.
It's bringing them into this sacred marriage and into the crucible of the heart so that they don't have an identity anymore, but they are still expressing their gifts. Whatever their primary gifts are available to us in an even more powerful way.
Beautiful. And if I can be real and authentic, when you were speaking to using that masculine example, I was just like, well, I think that's me. And yeah, I guess I wanted to ask.
It was you.
Okay, cool.
But it was also your feminine.
Yeah, true.
It was that pair.
Yeah. So what creates that unbalance and that aspect to sort of fall into unconscious?
It's memory.
Memory.
It's the akasha. It's in the records. It's from other timelines and from this lifetime and your upbringing and how you expressed, in your life and the experiences you had so far. But they're usually always connected to another timeline. So it is an opportunity for us to travel into the masculine and feminine pathways of other timelines and to reclaim our higher more. It's like initially we start working with what's in the the current lifetime and what issues are here, but we access more of our energy body and our light body through continuing to explore and allowing what I call the solar and lunar pathways, the feminine and masculine pathways that access more of our multidimensional consciousness, feeding in through these gateways, through the backs of the shoulders and into what we call the heart, through the thymus, which is actually an 8th-dimensional chakra, that and a relationship chakra that feeds into the heart. The more of this work we do, the more our heart, our tantric heart grows. This whole center here merges and radiates the light of the presence and the love and power of the presence. The more of this work we do when we are on the tantric path.
Wow.
So it's not about, unless it is particularly one's path and drawing to go and be making love with, lots of people and having this free love experience, whatever path you're on, whatever you choose to do, this experience or these aspects of consciousness will be met and cannot be denied. And whatever is manifest as a result of those encounters is something for us to bring into the heart. Simply that.
Yeah,
and to recognize that, perhaps I'm projecting my lust onto that person and that person and that person, because in truth, there is a universe of people out there that we can feel attracted to and see their beauty and fall in love with. Yet, is it in the highest divine order for us and for them, for us to actually enter into a physical or sexual relationship? That is where discernment really is needed. That is where, like, a guidance from the heart is required. Are we coming from lust and need and greed? Or are we truly considering what is in the highest for us and for them? Do I need to enter into intimacy with this person?
Yeah. Wow. So what? It's just opened up a can of worms in my mind. Is it wrong? Wrong? No. So that desire and that lust, that energy, is that something that we can internalize and cultivate and use within our body? Because I've heard the idea that we can leach our energy out through having like lust
Yes,
and things like that going external.
that's a very good point.
Yeah. So when we feel that, if we like breathe that in and use that energy through our body, is that really what that desire and lust energy is for?
It is a matter of, again, yes, dropping into the heart and really honoring the part of us that is in need, that believes it is in need, and be willing to be bigger than that. Because it's a very powerful energy, our sexual energy. And the resonance, if we are really honest, if it's not just projecting our sexual energy onto anything and everyone, but it is a sense of resonance. There might be like six, say there's six people that you go, oh, I feel attraction there, I feel attraction there, I feel attraction there, and there. You could ask yourself, what is it about that person that I am drawn to? What do I really love about that person? What is it? Is it their like outgoingness? Is it their intelligence? And you can recognize in that moment that that is what you are seeking to develop inside of you.
Yeah.
And when we enter into a partnership, a relationship, we can be sure that what we are admiring so much in our partner is what we are seeking to develop inside of ourselves. So that will be a compliment in a sense, but that is what we are looking for. And so in terms of the projection of our desire onto another, that is a beautiful thing to acknowledge, because some connections do not need to be explored. They just need to be recognized and acknowledged and go, oh, wow, that is a part of me that I'm seeking to develop. Yeah. And that is the interesting, incredible magic about true sexual attraction, not just like full on, spilling your sexual energy everywhere, whether it be through pornography or, just some heartless, literally not connecting to our heart in our sexual explorations. That would be the place where I would say, go there, go to the heart every time when you are, in any kind of feeling, any kind of lustful energy, go to the heart. And that way, that would help people who are, tending to project their energy out to others in terms of, getting into porn, full-on stuff or whatever, just doing that without the heart energy. Whatever you do with the heart, don't make it wrong. But it's all, we're all souls learning and growing through our paths. We don't need to judge what another is doing. Unless we're in relationship with them, something may come up, it may hurt us. We've got to face all of it. It is sticky. It can be painful, all of it. So on another level, I would say, yes, it is leaking energy. Your power, your energy is going out to the other person. When we want something from them, when we want them to be different, when we don't like the way they're behaving towards us, and part of our consciousness is going out down the cords, connected to them, and we are leaking our power. When we are in lust and we're throwing out cords to other people, we're literally cording with them in a sexual way. When we're fantasizing about them, our energy is going out there. So just observe that, know that. That's a simple truth. Leaking energy, we're not holding our full power, we're not holding our full energy. But whatever we do from the heart, we can actually, like I call it a crucible. We can dissolve and transmute consciousness through the heart, no matter what we do to it. The other thing is that the sexual resonance changes as we go through into the higher initiations of divine union. There aren't as many people or souls that we feel that buzz with, because we are coming from a different place, because we've brought the yearning in. We understand, we know, we've embodied something that, so you're in a different band of resonance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yep.
And you've risen out of, that place where you're sharing consciousness with a lot of people, like where there's a really similar kind of consciousness that's out and about there. and you're raising the consciousness, and you're developing the neocortex. You're bringing more light, love, presence, power into the body, and you're just naturally evolved yourself out of the frivolous kind of tendencies to, just be attracted to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I really want to say, I don't want that word to be taken in the way of a judgment.
Yeah.
It's probably not the best word to use. It's more, it isn't the best word, because I don't want to demean any of those experiences or desires, or any of those attractions. They're valid, completely valid. I just wanted to describe that it's a different experience in the seventh level of divine union and beyond, where there is less impulse to actually merge with another that isn't in absolute highest divine order. It's like, it's just not appropriate, and it is not desirable.
Yeah.
And that's probably the end of that answer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not sure where I went with your question.
No, that answered it completely. Gave me really good insight. The final thing I wanted to ask, and you've touched on spiritual bypassing, and going into those lower emotions. Through my journey, I've gone and spent time with spiritual communities and stuff who were very high chakras, and something just didn't feel quite right with them. It was almost like they didn't seem embodied. They were a bit like this, and it gave me the realization that we need to have that full embodiment of all our chakra centers. And I just wanted to get your perspective and insight on the importance of like going into the shadow and feeling these emotions, and how the heart plays a role in that.
Well, I'll just see if there's anything to add to that, because we've basically, our whole accent has been on that. But yes, there is a good point to make. So it's really about the idea that we can use our will to, and we have to use our will to bypass. Our personal will is used to bypass. And it's like making an agreement with parts of ourselves to not behave that way. And it's an agreement between our parts of our consciousness that are on the same frequency band, the same band of resonance. But the heart, as a crucible, is different from that.
Right.
And it is a higher frequency band. So we can be virtually in a tussle between our aspects of consciousness. So our masculine might say, well, I'm going to take it that way, and I'm not going to do it that way anymore. So I'm going to block my feminine because it's hurt and it just gets in the way. And I'm going to move fully towards where I need to go, because that's what I believe. So that part decides to dominate the other. And that's an agreement between aspects of consciousness that excludes the heart. But we will not be able to maintain going in that direction and actually really opening to the truth of our purpose, our mission. If we only make agreements between our aspects and use our will to do that, we have to bring those into the crucible of the heart. So often counseling sessions aren't necessarily fully effective. They help us have awareness and understanding, but we don't necessarily really shift our frequency. That will only happen if we bring everything into the heart. So it's vital to do everything with the power of the heart if we want change. Does that answer that question fully?
Yeah. I guess from a practical standpoint, bringing it into the heart, is that bringing out like conscious awareness to this space? Is it just simply being present?
It's more than that.
Yeah.
It's truly breathing into the heart of your essence. I mean, presence, yes, that might do it. Use your breath. That might be how you get there. That may be what you're talking about. That helps a lot to bring everything back to the self in the moment. Just bring everything back without agenda, without having any part of your consciousness pulling you in another direction. And as I said before, if you need more support with that, you can connect to the heart of the earth. You can intentionally just think of the heart, of the spirit, of Mother Earth. And that just releases more unconditional love and more power into your heart. It merges, it flows up and into your core. And it will hold you more steadily in that place of openness.
Beautiful. Perfect. So
I'm unable to hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrapped up?
Simply that the universe is a benevolent energy, and to remember that it has your back, and that if we do not choose to believe in it, if we choose instead to believe in suffering and that there is not some power for good that is really overriding everything and that is seeking to reclaim you, then you may continue to create and manifest the pain and suffering that you're used to. So choosing to have trust and choosing to have faith, even if you have had no example of that, of the goodness in your perception, in your life, is our very best bet. It is our highest choice that we can make in order to open a doorway, in order to let grace in. Grace is there. It wants to help you. But you must issue the invitation. You cannot go through life in a blanket of negativity or sadness that actually, literally, does block the crown chakra from opening to spirit and to that grace and that source that you are. Then you cannot expect to have different results in your life. We're here to support you and there are people who have paved the way, walked the path, genuinely met the shadow within and continue to do so, to bring the higher and higher frequencies into the body, but who do know how to do that. And sometimes we just need some help to remember, to open, to say, well, I don't know how to do this. And I definitely did that. I went to healers occasionally and to workshops and whatever it was that my heart called me to. And I knew inside that I had some kind of destiny to open to something more. And I didn't know what that was. And you probably have a seed of that too, because you are more than what you think, more than likely. And with that, I would leave you, and we'll put some links, add some links to the Sirius Library, and an email address maybe if you'd like to contact me. I do workshops and retreats and give personal sessions, and I would be very happy to support and assist.
Wonderful.
And I want to thank you, Aaron, so much for this beautiful opportunity to share this wisdom with more people.
Yeah. No, thank you, Illumina. I really appreciate taking the time. Thank you. And I'll definitely put those links below for anyone that wants to get in contact with you and feels the call to work with you. And,
lovely.
I would highly recommend it. Anyone who is watching to get in touch. So thank you.
They will know.
True. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.